Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to the movie that we all knew was coming eventually. If it wasn't for this pandemic and ongoing, lasting as long as it's been, I probably would have thought through my, sort of halfway through my Godzilla watch along, you know what, I'm just gonna cut this movie altogether because it's not a Godzilla movie, but still going on. I made you guys a promise that I would cover this movie, and this is the second time in the same month I've had to watch this turd. Because once again, I want to thank, I had a great time during the first watch along that I got invited to, Matthew Farley's watch along. I actually had a great time being a guest. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate the fact that he invited me on as a guest, and it was a fun time. That being said, though, it is not all that fun to watch this movie. It's just like even if this wasn't a Godzilla movie, it's just not even good for what it's trying to be. But let's just get into this right now. I want to welcome you all. Want to welcome you all who are in the chat at the moment. All the regulars. Yeah, let's just dive into this right now. So again, I have the DVD. If you have Netflix but you don't have the DVD, it is available on there for those of you who are watching this in post-production. And without further ado, I'm just going to start it. We're going to start the movie right now. There's that old TriStar logo with the horse. I mean, it's still the same logo, but they've updated it since then. Centropolis Entertainment. I think this was, yeah, Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin's production company. Why would I second guess that it was their production company? You know, the really sad thing about this opening is that it follows the criteria of how a Godzilla movie should open. I mean, it has this ominous feel to it. There's hints of nuclear testing. Kind of weird. We're seeing a bunch of Komodo dragons, marine iguanas, just lizards, because that's apparently the extent of Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin's thinking. Oh, Godzilla, he's just a lizard. Razorbike says, I will say two things about this movie. The soundtrack in the first 20 minutes or so before Godzilla gets to New York. To be honest, David Arnold's score is good when it starts off. It's actually effective during these opening credits. But later on, it just feels too whimsical. Like, a score for a Godzilla movie, especially most of the time when I think about a Godzilla score, I don't think of whimsical all that much. Like, a Godzilla score should be more menacing than anything. And then we missed it, but Patrick Tatopoulos was credited for the Godzilla design. And if you ever wanted a clear distinction of where this movie went wrong, Patrick Tatopoulos redesigned Godzilla, but also redesigned the Goombas from the Super Mario Brothers movie. There's some more lizards, just looking at this atomic bomb in awe. And it's that same footage that they use every time. Like, even the 2014 movie would use this footage. Based on the characters Godzilla owned by and created by Toho. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I feel like they should just take that credit off. Because this really has nothing to do with Godzilla at all. It said story. It credited Ted Russo and Terry Elliott as like it gave them a story credit when really Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin didn't even use their concept for this movie at all. Huh? See, this maybe it's just me, but this seems kind of racist because not maybe not offensively racist, but oh, a Japanese guy watching sumo wrestling while eating a bowl of noodles with chopsticks. Sure. I mean, luckily that's probably the only extent because later on this movie spends more time insulting the French than it does the Japanese. This even this even starts off like a Godzilla movie. So this opening sequence, it's definitely got the atmosphere right. Razorbike says sumo is awesome. It is, but to for that to be like the first go-to thing, um, for the Japanese in this movie, that's kind of generic. You know, this opening sequence could work if because we never actually see the monster. This could work if we're gonna go by the logic that GMK established in 2001. What happened there? That was actually Godzilla. I mean, we never saw the monster. We just saw claws and a tail, which looked like Godzilla. So we could just assume that, yeah, Godzilla attacked that ship and then just disappeared until 2001. But the only monkey wrench in like really trying to connect this to GMK is that you'd have to buy into the fact that America was completely oblivious to Godzilla's original rampage in 1954. So I think that mention in GMK was just, it's fun to connect them, but I think that mention in GMK was more of a jab at this movie than actually trying to connect it. Oh, Matthew Broderick. You know, Matthew Broderick, I don't dislike him. I mean, mainly I remember him from Ferris Bueller, and he's very. I love Ferris Bueller to stay off. If you guys haven't seen my review, I did it like early in the days of this quarantine, and it's up there. Love it a lot. I also recommend the Junk Food Cinema episode of Ferris Bueller's Day Off when they covered it for their summer of 1986. The Junk Food Cinema is probably one of my favorite podcasts out there in terms of movies. Yeah, there's General Morshower. Yeah, this dialogue. I mean, look, I don't want to come across like I hate Roland Emmerich, because I actually like compared to Michael Bay, Roland Emmerich's movies are at least fun. And I don't love Independence Day, but I actually love it for like its goofy, ridiculous nature. And I think I may have mentioned this on I mentioned it, yeah, I mentioned this in my review for Independence Day. The reason this doesn't work, well, there's a multitude of reasons why this doesn't work compared to Independence Day. But the main reason is that sort of like the way Armageddon is a better movie than Michael Bay's Transformers, is that it's its own thing. So it has the freedom to be its like whatever amount of stupidity that it wants to be. With this movie and Michael Bay's Transformers, there is a past that there's like a legacy with those properties that the directors have to honor, and they clearly did not. GZIL100 says, and Will Smith. Yeah, well, Will Smith's an obvious one. But even then, if Will Smith was in this movie as the lead, I don't think he would have saved it. Again, this to make sense, for that moment to make sense whatsoever, it has to like you have to buy into the fact that this movie is actually canon with Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, giant monsters all out attack. Because there's no way that if this movie was not canon to GMK, which it's probably better that it isn't, there's no way that he'd just be able to say Godzilla confidently. Okay, I gotta be honest. I don't know what the opinion of Kevin Dunn is, but I'm not a big fan of him, especially in this move. I mean, no, okay, you know what? That's not entirely true. There's some bits of he's appeared in Veep. He's kind of funny there, but I think it's just more in this movie, and it's like mainly in this movie and Michael Bay's Transformers as Shia LaBeouf's dad, where he just gets on my nerves. So I take that back. It's just like most of the roles that he picks are just kind of meh. Okay, how in the world can you be walking to a giant footprint and not even like first of all, it's stupid that it takes him like 10 or 15 seconds to realize he's standing in a footprint. But how do you not see the footprint when you're walking towards it? Man, she is horny on the spot for him. Gross. You know what? I was just about to say this movie should have followed those characters instead of uh, Audrey and Animal, but after that, I forgot. Like I just seen this movie earlier this month, and I totally forgot about that joke with the hand and sneezing in it. Okay, that's kind of a neat transition. Okay, here's something I mentioned this in Matthew Farley's live stream, but I feel like Vicki Lewis as who plays Audrey's friend. Hang on a second. This movie came out 19 years before the Me Too movement, and nowadays that shit would not fly. Amongst, many other things that you couldn't get away with in this movie. So join me, Kent Brockman, later on today. Anyway, yeah, Maria Pitillo as Audrey just is obnoxious. Like she's so bad in this movie. Um, but this character here, like she should have been more of the central focus than she should have been the female lead instead of Maria Maria Patillo. And what I was saying earlier, Vicki Lewis. No, wait, no, that's Vicki Lewis. I'm sorry. Yeah, Vicki Lewis. She should have been the lead above Maria Patillo. Like she's just more. She has more of a personality, and she's just not as dim-witted as she's not dim-witted at all compared to Audrey. But what I was gonna say, oh yeah, Arabella Field, um, Audrey's friend. I mentioned this in Matthew Farley's watch along, but I feel like if they had kept making Batman movies in the '90s, just based on that voice, she would have made a fine Harley Quinn. So, getting back to those giant claw marks on the side of the ship, that doesn't really make sense because, like this monster is so much smaller and weaker than Godzilla. So, how could claw marks that big take place on such a massive? How could claw marks that big happen from a creature that small and weak? Show me the way to go home, home, home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Like literally, they're just ripping off Jaws at that. Like, right, you drink to your leg, I'll drink to your leg. How about that? We'll drink to each other's legs. You know, they did a good job of reenacting a Godzilla movie with the first ship attack scene. And this is obviously supposed to be like, if we're contrasting this to the original Godzilla, this is supposed, like, the Japanese fishing boat was supposed to be the Ekomaru sinking. This sequence is supposed to be like the Bingo Maru sinking, which, but instead this sequence just can't help but rip Jaws off. It rips off Jaws, except Roland Emmerich is going, yeah, Jaws had one boat in that movie. We're going to have three. And the monster's going to drag them all underwater at the same time. Razorback says, I like Animal in this movie. He and Felipe are the only two characters I like in this movie. We'll get to Hank Azaria later on, but I can't stand him. Like, I can't stand Animal in this movie. So much rain in this movie. How do you come to that conclusion? And with like saying that it originated from the French Polynesia completely takes away any trace of Japanese origin. Again, if we're even gonna try to attempt to connect this movie with GMK, um, that that like comment there, the dawn of a new species. You like again, you have to buy into the fact that America has never been aware of or acknowledged the 1954 attack. Yeah, Hank Azaria is really playing up the New York accent. Lucas Rudin says, yeah, and people thought the MonsterVerse Godzilla movies were guilty of having too much rain and darkness. I mean, it's true that all the fight scenes in the MonsterVerse take place at night. But I think, like, in the first Godzilla, there's only one sequence where it actually rains, and that's in daytime in San Francisco before the big climax. And in King of the Monsters, wow, like okay, I gotta stop for a second, but her, like, I the way she's reacting is just not convincing at all. But anyway, the King of the Monsters, yeah, there's too much rain and weather effects going on, but they kind of make a reason within the film why that happens, because wherever Ghidorah goes, weather just kind of follows him. But you gotta give this guy's dedication. Like, it's soaking rain. He's still willing to go out there and try to catch some fish. This sequence here doesn't make any sense either, because, like, Zilla must be pretty weak to grab onto that little pole, or must be pretty weak for that fisherman to actually put up a fight when dragging the pole. And Zilla just, like, and when he dragged the pole under the water, like, Zilla left the dock and then suddenly turned around. That's an obvious compositing shot where he's clearly not on the dock. You know, people do praise this sequence, but, like, looking at it as a Godzilla fan, it's like they don't even show the monster, but you just look at his feet and you can tell that's not Godzilla. Because as Haru Nakajima said when he saw this movie, the feet look like it belongs. The feet looks like it belongs to a frog, than Godzilla. Now I will say, the fact that that shot there is practical and not CG, and that's a dummy that just fell, pretty cool. Hey, look at us. We're spoofing Siskel and Ebert. Wow, that is a small rally. Like that shot right there, such a small rally for him. Now, there is, like, another disappointing thing about this movie, considering that it's from Roland Emmerich, is that the destruction is really weak. Like, again, look at the legs. Like, you don't even need to see the full monster to realize that that's not Godzilla. Barney's on the TV. Haha. Wait, Razor's Bike, you never put together that you never put together the fact that the mayor and his aide are supposed to be Siskel and Ebert? But you had to be so clueless to not get that. How New York City? How do they go this long without even hearing from word of mouth that, hey, there's a giant monster roaming the city? Razorback says, I've always known. Okay. Okay. Razorback says he didn't want to do another destruction film after doing Independence Day. But then why say yes? Like, why say yes to Godzilla if you don't want to do another destruction movie? And also, why say yes if you're not even a fan of Godzilla to begin with? Like, that doesn't make any. I don't know. Yeah, like, again, you don't see the monster's face, but you could just tell by looking at it. That's something else. That is not Godzilla. Not only is that moment just flat out stupid, but it's a showcase of this movie's terrible sense of humor. Like, this movie tries way too hard to be funny. And yeah, just not good. That being said, I would act just like him if I nearly got stepped on by a giant monster and just happened to have been right in between two of the toes. Like, I would be laughing hysterically in that case. But yeah, with the whole Siskel and Ebert thing, like, it's kind of ironic that, like the reason they put them in that movie is because they gave thumbs down to Independence Day and Stargate. But okay, you know what? I've grown out of being a fan of the nostalgia critic. I do not a fan of the nostalgia critic nowadays. But the whole thing of, like, he complained about how the monster just disappeared in a city of 3 million people. Um, I'll get back to that sequence a little later. But with the whole Siskel and Ebert debacle, it's obvious that Emmerich and Devlin put him in there because they gave thumbs down to Stargate and Independence Day. But the whole ironic thing about them being in this movie as a joke, um, is that they don't even, like, as Gene Siskel points out in the review, you're gonna put us in a giant monster movie and yet for some reason you don't take advantage of having the monster either step on us or eat us. Like that's like if you had your chance to take out like two people you don't like in a monster movie, like you really failed if you missed out on that chance. I mean, Gremlins 2 took advantage of Lerner Malton. Like, Lerner Malton was not a fan of the first Gremlins, but Gremlins 2, they had a sequence where Lerner Malton is giving word for word his negative review of the first movie, and then the Gremlins attack him until he says, "Okay, fine, it's good." But in that movie, that works because they actually had Lerner Malton himself, who once again, Harry Shearer is a schmuck in this movie. By the way, um, shit, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, Leonard Maltin actually appeared in Gremlins 2, and I think it's awesome that he's able to to laugh at himself. The reason that, and to be fair, the reason Siskel and Ebert actually didn't show up in this movie is because they feel like I learned this when I was watching Roger Ebert's tribute to Gene Siskel. They felt like it was a conflict of interest if they appeared in movies or TV shows. Yeah, World Trade Center bombing. Yeah, I totally blame the filmmakers for that joke at all. Just kidding, because obviously there was no way they would have ever known. Like, you can't blame them for it. And that makes no sense at all. That shot makes literal no sense. I mean, even Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, one of my favorite movies in the franchise. Uh, all right, back to Siskel and Ebert. Like, yeah, it was they felt like it was a conflict of interest if they showed up in a movie or TV show as themselves. And their only exception was the TV show The Critic, which that makes total sense why they would appear in it as themselves. Hmm. You know, I hate to even like put any kind of subtext to this movie, like especially um oh, they're playing that terrible Puff Daddy Jimmy Page song in the background. Um what was I gonna say? Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I really want to put in any kind of subtext in this movie, let alone like like retroactive subtext, sort of like how when people compared the events of Jaws to what's currently going on with the pandemic. But like you could make the argument that the mayor of New York is running up for re-election at the exact same time a giant monster attacks the city, just like how Trump is running for re-election just as a pandemic is happening. Except I think the mayor's haha French jokes. Haha, we're making fun of the French and what they like and don't like. Spider's Prime says, I wonder what France thinks about this movie. Probably the way everyone thinks about this movie. It sucks. It's terrible. Okay, here's the thing about the concept of Zilla being able to hide in a city of 3 million people. Given how small this monster is. Yeah, given how small this monster is, it actually does make some sense that he's able to hide in the city. Because if the real Godzilla was in New York City, he would not be able to hide at all. Like, he would destroy New York in probably an hour. But Zilla is small, pretty lightweight, and for some reason pretty quiet. So it kind of makes sense for him to hide in this city. Those aren't some bad-looking animatronic fish. Man, this Roland Emmerich is more helicopter crazy in this movie than Jordan Roberts was in Kong Skull Island. Like, good lord, there's so many helicopters. Yeah, Zilla is... Yeah, Zilla is... Oh, hold on. There's still more jokes at the French's disposal. Man, bless John Reno. Like, he has such terrible material to work with, but he's trying to make the best of it. Yeah, yeah, Razorbike said that's like Zilla is as big as the first three incarnations of the Millennium Godzilla, but but he's still weaker than Godzilla. Yeah, they really should have. It would have been funny to at least kill those two characters instead of just have them instead of just do nothing with them. Oh yeah, here comes this really weird ass line. Yeah, that's the reaction I had too. Like, I don't know. Um, let me go up to. Let me just double check that height factor on Toho Kingdom. Let's see. Godzilla, Roland Emmerich's Godzilla, 60 meters, yeah. So that's according to Toho Kingdom. Godzilla, Okay, it says the 2000 Godzilla from Godzilla 2000 Megaguirus and the Kiryu Saga are 55 meters tall, so they're slightly smaller than this Godzilla, but still not, like, still more powerful. And the GMK Godzilla is as big as Zilla, but again, not as powerful. No, not as powerful as GMK, I'm sorry. And weird that Zilla in Final Wars is 90 meters. And yet he manages to destroy Sydney, Australia in no time. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles popping up in this movie. I don't know. Okay, the way the Earth, the cement cracks open, it is just like looks like some Bugs Bunny shit. That I mean, like the nostalgia critic pointed out, but that really looks like some Bugs Bunny stuff right there. And the way the Earth kind of, and the way it's the noise that it makes when it cracks open, it sounds more like ripped pants than anything. Man, this part, it's just like, all right, we finally get to see Godzilla. Let's see what this new incarnation looks like. It's gonna be so awesome. And what the hell is that thing? Like, this is 45 minutes into the movie, and I think it's safe to say that, yeah, we've given up hope on this movie actually being a Godzilla movie. Like, there's some CGI shots of Zilla. I'm sorry, not Godzilla. There are some CGI shots of Zilla that look good. Like that's real. That's a real prop that they built. That close up of his eye. There's some shots of Zilla that look impressive. That's a real. That's that prop head that they built. So I could just tell, like, it looks authentic, and that's CG. There's some shots of Zilla in CG that look good, and then other shots that just look absolutely atrocious. Like, even for 1998, the CG didn't look very good. Yeah, why is the music this jolly? Like, it's okay, maybe jolly's the wrong word, but why is the music so majestic? Yeah, the thing about Zilla, it's like the main reason people hate this the way it looks is just because they decided to call it Godzilla. Because on its own, on its own, the design is actually not that bad. So it's a really cool, sleek looking design. It's just not Godzilla. Again, the forced humor in this movie is just ridiculous. Man, thank God those soldiers on foot didn't get stomped. And that doesn't count as atomic breath. Peter Parker's now out of a job. Yeah, but at least Spider-Man won't be continuously ridiculed. Now, this shot right here, this is probably the best action scene in the movie, but the shots where the helicopters are chasing Zilla through the city streets, there's something kind of creepy about like something that big disappearing so quickly within the city skylines. So again, like, you make a Godzilla movie, or you attempt to make a Godzilla movie, and yet all the big destruction in this movie is caused by the US military, not the monster itself. Huh? So I'm or so there's something you can't get away with today. I mean, not so much like the Chrysler building being destroyed, but like in a monster movie, you could probably get away with destroying the Chrysler building. And there's shots from It Came From Beneath the Sea, Ray Harryhausen's movie, but like when you see an iconic building like the Chrysler building just fall over, I don't think you can follow that up with a comedic "oh damn" moment nowadays. Like this whole sequence, every time Zilla faces the military, um, you just kind of have to ask yourself, like I imagine as a Godzilla fan seeing this for the first time, you're just wondering the whole time, like, why is Zilla running from the military, and why are they making the military so inept in the fact that they can't hit this thing? How do you look straight ahead? Like that had to be a solid building they were shooting at. How do you not tell that there's a giant monster there? Or how do you not follow him through the giant building hole? That's a cool practical explosion. Of course, the white guy's the last one to get killed by the monster. Like you had a African American pilot and a Japanese pilot that get killed first, and then the white guy survives just long enough for this to happen. Another terrible bit of humor. Oh, I think I lost him. Chomp. I know Roger Ebert took his job really seriously as a critic. Um, but since this movie was supposed to be spoofing Siskel and Ebert, it would have been funny if that was actually a line that Ebert used in his review, like when criticizing the movie. The U.S. military caused more damage than that thing did. Ha ha ha! So many soldiers died. There is one. I'll admit there is one, just one, like funny point in this movie. That there's one point of humor in this movie that actually legitimately made me laugh. But we'll get to it when we get to it. Ironically, the funniest part about the one part of humor that I think is legitimately funny happens in the absolute worst point of the movie. And I'll just tell you right now, it's the sequence with the baby Zillas. Okay, so for the longest time, even with the last the watch along I did earlier this month, I kept thinking to myself, why is this place open? But now it makes total sense. They're in New Jersey. Their base is in New Jersey. She is such a terrible character. I mean, granted, Harry Shearer was a scumbag already, but like now she's put in this terrible whatever. The Jurassic Park ripoff scene, yeah. I mean, we'll get to that funny moment when we get to it, but yeah, essentially the baby Zilla sequence. I'm sorry, it's not Godzilla. Cassidy G. Williams asks, could you do a new review of this movie in the future? I actually want to. I don't know. Since I'm already doing watch alongs of all these movies, um, I think I'm, I want to do a review when we get to, I'm probably going to do a review once we get to Godzilla versus Kong. But if the world keeps getting crappier and crappier, then I don't know when I'll do that review. But that was a review that was a review. When I did it, like I just had this very angry sensibility when it came to talking about movies, and I just didn't find my voice yet. So when it came to Gareth Edwards' Godzilla coming out, I just decided to take that review from my old channel and just post it onto the new channel. And to be honest, I don't like that review so much. So I do want to re-review this movie later on. Um, Later on, like in more of my own personal sensibility. So yeah, somebody pointed this out in the chat and quoted the James Rolfe when he did all the Godzilla movies back in 2008. This movie owes a lot more to Jurassic Park than it did Godzilla. Right down to the creature being able to produce asexually. And yeah, Maria Pitillo, it does suck that she, like, this is probably what she's most famous for, and it's just a terrible. Like, I mean, first of all, it's I'm not gonna say it's a thankless role because she's one of the main characters, but she just plays this. Her performance is terrible, which I think I would blame Roland Emmerich more than her herself, because nobody in this movie is actually good, except Jean Reno. Like, Jean Reno and Vicki Lewis are probably the best actors in this movie, but most of the other cast, the rest of the cast is pretty terrible. Um, I mean, even like this is a quote from herself about the movie. Um, um, this movie isn't written for big performances from its actors. I don't expect a lot from it. It won't be like, oh, Maria Pitillo is a great actress, but it is an opportunity for people to see me. And sure, like a name like Godzilla, you would think like, yeah, it's a chance for me to get recognized. Of course, I'll take it. Why would, like, if I was an actor, um, like, okay, truth be told, if I was an actor, I'd want to try to excel my career, like, in terms of quality. But if I'm offered a big high profile project, then I when I'm a nobody, then I chances are I'd probably take it. Same thing happened with what's his name, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He took GI Joe: Rise of Cobra not because he thought it would be good, but because it would probably give him more recognizability. And ironically, more people recognize him from 500 Days of Summer, which actually came out before GI Joe. So, I mean, actors just gotta work and do whatever they can to get recognized. And apparently, Maria Pitillo just did mostly TV after Godzilla. She was in a movie in 2000 called After Sex, which I'd never even heard about. Okay, this sequence here. It's like, how do the guys asking him what's down there not see this? How do you not hear that also? Oh yeah, but this moment where she steals the tapes. Where she steals Nick's tapes. Yeah, it's like it screws her on so many accounts. Like, I mean, he's a scumbag for like stealing her story, but she was a scumbag already to steal the tapes and eventually like get Nick into trouble. Wait a minute. Okay, one of the military officials there. That can't be who I think it is it? That is. We'll get to it later. Yeah, I'm like Vicki Lewis right there, where it's like, you guys are not funny. Zilla 100 says who? I'm gonna wait until you get a closer shot in this actor. Because there's a moment in this movie where you get a clear close up of him. Razorbike says, "Be patient." Razorbike says, "Tell us now. The suspense is killing us. Be patient. Be patient." I'm sure we'll get a shot of him earlier on. You know, the 2014 movie had the same plot. No, it didn't. No, the 2014 movie is a very different movie. I mean, the 2014 movie is more of a remake of Gamera Guardian of the Universe. But we'll get to that later. I don't believe it. You're fucked, dude. What? No. No, ma'am. He just went Matthew Broderick here just went full-blown Mark Wahlberg in The Happening 10 years before The Happening. You know what? I don't feel sorry for him. He knew the risk was dangerous when he knew the job was dangerous when he took it. Like, you know better than to trust your uh you know better than to trust your ex-girlfriend that screwed you over not once but now twice. Giselle 100 says, "I'm talking about the Mutos with the eggs." Yeah, that's more in line with Gamera Guardian of the Universe. Well, especially later on in that movie when the Super Gauss lays eggs on top of Tokyo Tower. And really, this is not the same plot as Gareth Edwards' Godzilla. Do not put this evil onto that movie. Because you screwed me over, that's why. And this is why you're still an assistant, Audrey, and not a reporter, because you are just, I don't know. Yeah, you and every other actress who tries to make it out to LA. Here's the thing. Um, she wouldn't, I guarantee you, if her version of the story ran rather than Harry Shearer's, she would not be apologizing. I mean, Nick would still be fired and off the project, but she probably wouldn't care. It's like, hey, I made it to the big leagues. Um, Jesus 100 says the acting is so Oscar worthy. I know that's sarcasm, but uh, I would not be surprised if that stretch of acting from Maria Pitillo was the moment that made you go, Razzie well earned. How many Oscars did this movie get, you say, Gzilla 100? All of them. I know y'all being sarcastic, but for those of you who don't know, this movie got nominated for 6 Razzies and won 2, which at this point I'm in the mindset of fuck the Razzies. But it was nominated for Worst Picture, Worst Director, Worst Screenplay, Worst Movie Trends of the Year, which I don't know what the hell that was. And it won Worst Supporting Actress and Worst Remake or Sequel. What? Are you sure? How do you know that? Yeah, Matthew Broderick is just so miscast in this movie. Like, people give crap to Aaron Taylor Johnson in Gareth Edwards' film, but I actually believe Aaron Taylor Johnson more as a soldier than I ever do as Matthew Broderick as a scientist in this movie. He's not lying. I mean, have you seen how easy it is for people to get guns in this country? Yeah, it's like contrary to like this movie and stuff like Inspector Gadget, Matthew Broderick has been in a lot of good stuff. I mean, The Lion King really wasn't a success mainly because of him, but he's good in it. Uh, but there's movies like well, like we mentioned before, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but also Alexander Payne's Election. Um, and there's several others that I'm not focusing on right now. He has a funny bit role in 30 Rock. It should be known that Roland Emmerich is German, so the French jokes make sense. That's very true. But it is kind of ironic that if you count this movie, there are 3 American Godzilla movies in existence. Um, the first one made by a German, the second one made by a British, and the third one is finally made by an American, Michael Dougherty. Who is that Rick Baker looking guy? Wow, denying the fact that there are eggs in the city. Denying the fact that there are eggs in the city. Uh, You know, you could like you. There are a lot of points with the U.S. military here, or just any of the U.S. political figures in this movie at all. If you just replace them with members of the Trump administration, it'd literally be the same movie. Gzilla 100 says, "I'm not looking forward to Godzilla versus Megaguirus." I gotta be honest, like that's infinitely better than this movie by a country mile. But that's the Godzilla movie that is probably the biggest. Well, okay, outside the anime trilogy, the first three Godzilla series. Megaguirus is the one that's really a struggle to watch. Come on. Why? Okay, why? I'm not judging the Scooby Doo doll, but why is there a part? Why does she have a parking meter in her room? Unless this is animals room. There's the most convincing. Those are the most convincing American soldiers I've ever seen in my life. Okay. Okay, that panning shot of the chewing gum, I'll admit that made me laugh. Hold on one second, folks. I'm not going anywhere. I just need to open up a window before I sweat like I did in my Godzilla vs. Mothra watch along. All right, there we go. You know, she asks, "Aren't there rats down there?" I imagine the rats would in New York would be as big as Zilla. That is not New York. That is that tunnel in downtown LA. Unless there's a tunnel, underground tunnel in New York that looks exactly like it. Now, I wonder, was he actually dubbed over, or was that Jean Reno actually doing an Elvis impression? But that soldier is really dumbfounded. That soldier's got to be an idiot if he doesn't recognize the man that they just fired from the project. Yeah, there really is just too much of a comedic tone in this movie, which I don't mind. I don't mind like a movie having a comedic sense of tone, but there's something about this time. I think with the way the movie's built up at first, like the atmosphere, it just doesn't work. Like it just the atmosphere they built up with this movie is like pretty good and really pretty grim and suspenseful, but it like later on just to add those humorous moments, it just makes it's just an inconsistent tone. This movie does feel like it goes on forever. Like, it feels like an eternity since we've had a monster do anything. There's Zilla. Again, I imagine a Godzilla fan seeing this for the first time going, Godzilla can't dig. He's not a digger. He's not Baragon. Yeah, that looks... Oh, that CGI looks atrocious. Razorbike says it's been about 40 minutes since Godzilla showed up. No, I'd say it's been about, if we're going by the logic of GMK, I'd say it's about an hour and 19 minutes since Godzilla showed up. Because Godzilla ain't in this movie. Like, that shot doesn't look too bad. Yeah, but this monster, it's... I don't like how... I mean, outside the complete disregard for its design. Um, like, there's so many points where he doesn't sound like Godzilla. Like, there are only a few segments where he actually has Godzilla's roar. But, there are a lot of other points where he just doesn't sound like Godzilla. Once again, more destructions caused by the U.S. military. So many Apache helicopters. It's amazing how there's not one single collision course between any of those copters. Okay, that guy there, the Admiral, that's Richard Gant, who played he played George Washington Duke in Rocky 5, the touch me and I'll sue guy. And he was also in Jason Goes to Hell as the coroner that Jason possesses early in the movie. You know, I don't care what the cost of court martialing is. Um, the moment where Zilla heads towards one of the submarines and the torpedoes crash into it, if I see that that thing is head towards my submarine, I'm getting out of there. I don't care if we're underwater. I'm getting out of there. And there goes the submarine. You know, Zilla's not that bright because he could easily try to climb out of the Hudson rather than try to dig a hole into it and have that happen. You know, in any other movie, especially a Godzilla movie, considering that we are an hour and 27 minutes in, this should be where the movie ends. Because they killed the monster. But no. No, for some reason, Roland Emmerich has to make this movie keep going for longer than it needs to. With the worst moment in the entire movie. It's almost like this movie has 5 acts. It's like the first act is the setup. This begins with the beginning of the movie, obviously. The second act begins with Zilla coming to shore. The third act begins with what's his with shit. Where would the third act begin? The third act would begin with realizing that Zilla's pregnant. And then the fourth act begins with this, and then the fifth act begins with finding out that Zilla's not dead. And yes, Godzilla 100, I know he's not dead, but again, any other movie, like, you would think they killed the monster, so that's where the movie has to end. All right, I'm going to close that window again. Just give me a second, folks. Not that there's anything to really miss. So if it wasn't bad enough that this movie had to rip off Jurassic Park, Jaws, and so many other movies, they have to go ahead and rip off Alien with the egg. Like the egg in the Alien poster is just a straight, like those eggs are straight up rip off of the eggs from the poster for Alien. How did Zilla survive? Plot convenience. This part of the movie I hate so much. Like I legitimately hate the sequence with the babies. Huh. Zilla 100 says life finds a way. I guess that's as good an answer as any for how Zilla survived. The baby Zillas should have looked more like face huggers as opposed to the raptors from JP. Then why would... Okay. Then the babies would look nothing like their father in that case. Go push. 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 There you are. I mean, I do like how a lot of the babies are practical. At least like the egg hatching. Like they actually built little suits or animatronics. But the CGI babies look awful. Yep, now starts the point of the movie where they gotta rip off Jurassic Park. Like the babies remind me of the sharks in Deep Blue Sea, where the practical effects, if I'm gonna give any kind of praise, the practical effects for the babies are really good. But when you switch over to the CGI effects, it's so obviously CGI and it looks terrible and of its time. And yeah, he dies. He dies with terrible CGI again. Deep Blue Sea is a great shark film. Let's not say great, okay? Let's not give Deep Blue Sea that amount of credit. It's one of the better shark movies out there, but considering that you could probably count the good shark movies on probably one hand, that's not saying a whole lot. Where's the governor in all this? Why isn't the governor getting involved in this scenario? Because it's a giant monster invading his city. Or his state, I'm sorry. Well, that's too bad. Gzilla 100 says just ended already. I know, like again, this movie's only 2 hours and 18 minutes. Um, yeah, two hours and 18 minutes. But for some reason, this movie feels like it's 3 hours. Again, because like the movie just refuses to end. The point where Zilla was shot by the submarine torpedo should have been the end of the movie, like by all logic. But this sequence had to keep going, and then they had to fake us out with the fact that Zilla's still alive. Yeah, you dumb idiot. Where are you going? Wow, that's ooh. Those babies are floating. Like there's some more like wide shots of the babies walking around Madison Square Garden. A lot of the times it looks like they're floating. Like, ooh, that looks terrible. And we have to rip off the moment where the Raptors jump on a victim. And we have to rip off the eye through the window. This movie just has to rip off every single thing from Jurassic Park. We have to rip off the poor attempt to opening the door with the head. Ooh, like right there, that shot back there, they were floating. Right there, see? Their feet are not touching the floor. They're sure taking their sweet time. It's like I guess the babies prefer French food over American food. Cuz they spent no time killing off those French people. But when it comes to Matthew Broderick, they have to take their sweet time. All right, this is the moment of the movie that actually I think is legitimately funny. That made me laugh. I'll give it that. Of course, we got to rip off Die Hard. See, now there's literally no point for Hank Azaria to be in this movie. Or no, you know what? There is. Those are some slow ass babies. And some terrible ass CG. And internet. That goes to show you how dated this movie is. 'Cause nobody says "an internet" nowadays. There's actually no reason for them to play this moment out like actual news broadcast. Yeah, it's like there's no reason to play this as an actual news story. It's like, look, we're live, not news story. Look at what's going on behind us with all these babies. Do something. Man, those kids look so bored out of their minds. God, those CG babies are hideous. Still not as bad as the CGI Scorpion King in The Mummy Returns. By playing this whole scene like a news story, they're actually wasting valuable time. Like, they're actually wasting more time than just getting right to the point. Dun dun dun. You win. Military says you've got less than 6 minutes before you're all toast. Get out. Okay, so it's... I'm just going to see if this goes for real time. I don't think it does. But the middle of an... It's like an hour and 48 minutes and 30 seconds in. It's where that message comes in. Actually, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to try and figure out if it's real time, because that's a waste of time. This scene feels a lot like the Independence Day speech scene. But without any of the fun. Exactly. Because that speech in Independence Day is so cheesy but iconic, and this is just... Ugh. They've eaten all the fish. And the way the babies run, it looks like they're galloping. Like they're a bunch of horses galloping. That's embarrassing. Like the baby's slipping on basketballs and gumballs. Okay, so how do these the babies are at the exit right now. They could easily just get out into the city at this moment. And yet they all just stand there without a clue in the world. And again, this CGI on the babies is atrocious. Razorbyte says, I was in a live stream of this movie last month and we timed it, and right when they exit would be 6 minutes. Okay. Oh, now they try to make it out alive, huh? Meanwhile, every sports fan in New York City went, no, not Madison Square Garden. You know, with how close those characters are, they should have been dead. They should have been dead right there. And again, like, Zilla is dead. And at any other moment in any other movie, like, the monster's dead, they destroyed the nest, that should be the end. Like, that is where the movie should have ended right there. You know, if I were him, I'd be like, okay, I gave you a shot the first time, but after you got me fired from that job, stole my tapes, no, I'm not giving you a second chance. And right here is where the credits should start rolling. The credits should just start rolling right there. But no. Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin said, we got to keep this movie going a little longer. We need to try to push 2.5 hours. So, hey, Zilla's magically alive. This movie really is like, please end already. Mommy's very angry. I love it when Zilla runs when Zilla walks, everyone can feel his footsteps, but when he runs, you can't feel anything. Yeah, this Yeah, Gzilla 100 says it's the longest of the Godzilla series. It is, but the sad thing is it's not a Godzilla movie. Doesn't even qualify as a Godzilla movie. Again, this part right here where Zilla's having a really difficult time chasing this cab. Um like it's like King Ghidorah in King of the Monsters not being able to destroy that helicopter easily. Like, no monster this big should have that trouble destroying something so small. That whole conversation, the whole conversation that Animal and Audrey are having, it's a conversation that nobody would understand or get unless you live in New York. It's the equivalent of the Californian sketches on SNL. Miraculously, no one was killed. Like, this is, again, seeing this as a, if you, I can only imagine what Godzilla fans seeing this in the theater for the first time were reacting. Like, seeing a monster that looks nothing like the monster they grew up on, seeing him slip as he chases a cab. Chasing a cab in general is, like, this is embarrassing. You mean Zilla? Again, does not count as radioactive breath. And even if it did, why would you have that be used only twice in the entire movie? Oh, the MetLife building was in the background and still standing for some reason. That's such a stupid image. Man, it's too bad you guys can't get out of the cab and walk to where he can't chase you. Whatever. This movie's stupid. Again, seeing this as a Godzilla fan for the first time, seeing your monster get blinded by a cab car must be infuriating. I mean, I've said this several times, but this was the first one I saw in the series long before I even saw any Japanese films. And again, I've said this before, but the first Japanese film I saw was Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. So I wasn't like invested. So for the first time seeing this movie, I wasn't invested as a Godzilla fan. It's just, this movie was terrible, even if you even if it's not a god, even if you can distance yourself from the fact that this is called Godzilla, it's just a terrible movie for what it's trying to be. And again, Zilla should not be affected by this. Or a giant radioactive lizard that size should not be affected by a cord that small. And also, you can't do that. Like, a monster that big would not be able to run on the bridge, and the bridge is still supporting it. Like, that does not work. That's not how physics and science works. That doesn't make that no. Like, this movie just gets dumber and dumber as it goes along, and then comes like the most like all the stuff beforehand for Godzilla fans to witness must be rough. Again, a monster that doesn't even look like Godzilla, not being able to chase a cab successfully and catch it, blinded by cab lights, running from the military and not really destroying the city. And then you find out the reason why he keeps running from the military and they keep missing him is because he's easily taken out by conventional weapons. It's like, no. No, 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 no. By the way, that cab flew. Like that cab somehow managed to find the ability to fly, because it would never have made that jump. Like, no. No, this movie, okay, this ending here with Zilla dying, it tries to paint it as if like it's an emotional moment. But no, cuz the whole movie has painted this monster and the babies as villainous. Like, you're never convinced throughout this entire movie that Zilla's a misunderstood creature. And the ending is just so confusing because you have this, it's trying to play this moment like it's sad and like man is the true monster, not the monster itself. But then right as Zilla dies, everyone's celebrating, and the movie wants you to celebrate with them. It's like, no. Gzilla100 says, I won't be seeing this movie for a long time. Yeah, this is a movie that I do not need to see for another 15 or 20 years. Like, it's that bad. The only reason I even watched this movie in the same month is because of you guys. Like, in the same month twice. Yeah, okay. Razorbike said something very prominent. It's not even a good monster death. Like, what the hell? They just shoot at it until it dies? What other giant monster movie have you seen where they just shoot at it until it dies? It's stupid and lazy. There's another Siskel and Ebert joke. But anyway, yeah, it's like, because even in Independence Day, again, it's baffling that they'd make this movie after Independence Day and not be a destructive monster movie like Independence Day was for alien invasion movies, because the ending to Independence Day, they at least, as dumb as that ending was, with using a Mac computer to hack into the alien mothership, it's different. It's inventive. Hey, Harry, I'll see you in the recording studio next week, okay? Audrey. Could you come up with a more generic French name than Philippe? So here's the thing. Okay, DeQuantate said the animated series was better and it was what the movie should have been. Um, Here's the thing. Like, the animated series, I didn't grow up with the animated series, but I've watched a few episodes. For some reason I stopped watching it. I had the whole series on DVD. I should probably keep watching it, but like it feels more like in spirit with what Godzilla is. It's like if they took the Hanna-Barbera cartoon and updated it, and they made Zilla more of an indestructible creature, and it felt more like a Godzilla um, property. But I'm still slightly irritated by the fact that they keep calling the monster Godzilla. Because again, the animated series is good, but the monster's not Godzilla. Spiders Prime says, well, that sequel never happened since the movie bombed. I mean, the animated series was the sequel. But yeah, like, this ending is just, like, it's like the ending to Alien versus Predator, where it's a setup for a sequel, but it also plays out like a gag. Except here, they never actually follow. Well, in movie form, they never followed up on it. They did follow it up with. They did follow it up with the animated series, and at least it wasn't like Aliens versus Predator, where they followed up with the atrocious abortion that's Aliens versus Predator Requiem. Okay, I'm stopping it right here because that movie went on for way too long. Later on, because one thing, I can't stand that song. Like, I hate that Puff Daddy song. But later on, it says the movie's dedicated to Tomiyuki Tanaka, and Tanaka, like, it's a good thing that he wasn't alive to see this movie, because I know, like, it would have been an insult to Tanaka to see what they did to Godzilla. But and yeah, I'm not gonna. I gotta actually get off pretty soon. But Razorbike says, okay, now that the movie is over, it's nothing but smooth sailing for the rest of the series. Well, there's going to be some rough patches, especially when we get to the anime trilogy, but nothing can be as worse than what we saw tonight. So yeah, that's Roland Emmerich's Godzilla. It definitely is so much worse than I remember. Even if you distance it from anything involving Godzilla, which it's kind of easy too, considering that Toho eventually named the monster Zilla. but it's even just as a monster movie, it's terrible. But yeah, next week, next Tuesday is going to be what I call the therapeutic Godzilla movie, because that's pretty much what it was. Godzilla 2000. So yeah, Tuesday we'll be getting back to watching actual Godzilla movies. And once again, I want to thank you all for joining in this watch along. For those of you who are watching in post-production, glad you could watch. If you are watching, I encourage you to watch these live. If you are watching these live, but you do not actually take part in the comments section, I actually encourage you to do that. I encourage any kind of participation I encourage any kind of participation in the comments. And if you like what I'm doing with the channel, you want to help support not only the channel financially, but help me do more watch-alongs besides Godzilla and the MCU, you could go over to patreon.com/therealmrRobinson. Link, I just put a link in the chat. And for $1 a month, you can help support the channel financially. But once we get to 25 patrons, I'll be able to start doing exclusive watch-alongs for you guys. And so, yeah, again, if we hit 25 patrons, then I will be doing more watch-alongs for everyone. If you cannot support the channel financially, no sweat, that's totally fine. Your subscriptions and just sharing the channel with others is good enough. And yeah, we'll be getting back to real Godzilla movies next week. And until then, this is the Real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.